Yeah. Okay, first of all, I know the history behind the WNBA. I know that both of those cities have had teams before, and they got us where we're at, so I'm thankful for that.
Some WNBA players show up, do their duties, and then leave. Sophie Cunningham is another female member of the most talked about women's basketball squad. She started hurling people to the ground right away, went viral overnight, and then sat down to reveal all of her secrets and what it's truly like to play with the world's most contentious player. In addition to being unexpected, what she disclosed was wholly at odds with the narrative that the majority of people had previously accepted. You must go back to January 31st, 2025, in order to comprehend the significance of any of this. The day that turned so differently as Sophie Cunningham could have imagined. She had worked hard throughout her 6 seasons with the Phoenix Mercury, earning a great reputation as a fearless guard with lightning-fast shooting. The Indiana fever had been delivered to her. Later on, it was discovered more cameras, controversy, and national attention surrounding Indiana Fever, home of Caitlin Clark, the most scrutinized athlete in women's sports, than any other WNBA team in history. It was also a historic transaction. The sport was surprised with a huge 10-team mega contract. Cunningham was not gently acclimated to her new surroundings. She was abandoned in the midst of a storm, and the subsequent events exposed every aspect of her true nature. Very few people discuss this. Cunningham had a difficult beginning in Indiana. Her preseason ankle ailment caused her debut to be postponed until May 22nd. A week later, she sustained another ankle injury that kept her out of action for an additional 2 weeks. She was fighting her body and trying to establish a rhythm while playing for a new city, a new coach, a new system, and new teammates. She had difficulties during those initial weeks. There wasn't enough chemistry. There was no momentum. The likelihood of this transaction succeeding at all was seriously questioned. However, something clicked right before the All-Star break. After being elevated to the starting lineup, Cunningham not only found her rhythm again, but also excelled. She averaged 11.2 points and shot more than 51% from the field in 13 games as a starter. At the time, she was arguably the team's most productive player. What transpired on June 17th was the most direct response to the 2025 WNBA season. Their enforcer had been located by the Fever, and she was just getting started. The Fever were playing the Connecticut Sun, and the entire game had been violent. In the third quarter, Sheldon stabbed senior JC Caitlin Clark in the eye. It was the type of play that frequently results in a free throw and a shrug. Sophie Cunningham, however, did not shrug. She seized Sheldon and dragged her to the ground in front of everyone a quarter later. As soon as they were expelled, the moment was gone, and social media collapsed overnight. In a matter of hours, Cunningham amassed hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers. Her TikTok following increased from 300,000 to more than 2 million. Almost soon, she became well known outside of basketball. She was straightforward when she finally spoke about it in public. She also acknowledged that the league had penalized her about $900. She declared that she had no regrets at all. I will defend my comrades. I do that. It was more than just a video that went viral. Sophie Cunningham's entire public persona changed at the same moment. When Cunningham shared what she soon disclosed on her brand new podcast, Show Me Something, which she co-founded with her childhood friend and reality TV star Wes Wilson, the aftermath from that argument became even more intriguing. She didn't hesitate. She acknowledged something that had been the subject of months' worth of rumors. The previous season, when Caitlin Clark was still with the Phoenix Mercury, there were actual discussions in a locker room on how to deal with her during her rookie season. Many people's fears were validated by her, but no one wanted to voice them. According to Cunningham, players in the league were purposefully concentrating on Clark in order to make a statement and demonstrate to her the true meaning of the W. She claimed to have some understanding of it. Rookies are handled that way. However, it had gone much too far in Clark's instance. What are people doing? I wonder. It's simply too much. After witnessing it as a team member, Cunningham declared, I'm over it. It's probably too much if I feel that way. Her statements had a certain resonance because she had actually been in those rooms. It wasn't a common opinion. This was an acknowledgement. Listeners were enthralled by Cunningham's regular revelations on the podcast, which turned into a music forum. She confronted those who doubted Caitlin Clark's influence on the league in one episode. She spoke haphazardly. She didn't employ hedging. You're just plain wrong if you don't think Caitlin Clark is the face of the WNBA, or if you think the league wouldn't be where it is now without her, she added. And the closest thing to what she stated is this. She was very clear that she wasn't mocking other players in the league. Everyone was respected by her. She did, however, find it incomprehensible that Clark's contribution to the growth of women's basketball was being overlooked. It was also difficult to ignore how straightforward her remark was. Hearing that directly from a seasoned insider held a lot of weight for a league that has been engaged in a complex, ongoing internal debate regarding Clark's position and reception. The response from the internet was precisely what you would anticipate. The video became viral once more. Then came the moment that drastically changed the story's tone. Sophie Cunningham revealed a completely other side of herself outside of the fights, podcasts, and viral incidents. At the annual Aaron Nesmith charity event in November, she offered to serve food to local people while being appropriately microphoned and having her comments recorded. "We are here to accomplish this." She turned to a crowded room and said, "We're here for you." The section that really resonated was this one. There was no contract with her. She was already past the end of her one-year deal with the Fever. She didn't have to be there. She received no payment. She just showed there, rolled up her sleeves, and started serving. Fever's fans went nuts. The footage of the incident went viral just as fast as the J.C. Sheldon fights. Remark after remark begged the team to sign her for life. People who had never watched a WNBA game started to pay attention. This was the other side of Sophie Cunningham, a farm girl from Columbia, Missouri, who credits her diligent and pious upbringing with shaping who she is. When she started talking about Caitlin Clark's offshore court actions, almost everyone was shocked. People had given the idea that Clark was practically untouchable, a composed, well-groomed great athlete who flows through life with ease. That impression was completely demolished by Cunningham. When she appeared on Like a Farmer podcast, someone asked her about her favorite Clark story. Her answer was so direct that it felt like she was divulging a secret. "Clark is just a regular person who genuinely enjoys basketball," she said. Then she labeled her a big old dork and said, "You don't know what to expect when you first meet someone who has so much attention following them around. You get ready." Instead, she found someone who was sincere, modest, and completely foolish. She said she was the biggest nerd you'll ever meet, and that she loved Clark's whole atmosphere. For millions of people who only see Clark through press conferences, endorsement deals, and highlights, the description seemed to be the most human thing someone had ever spoken about her. Their off-court friendship became its own story. When asked which teammate she would least trust to handle her social media accounts, Cunningham gave a perfect response. Because Cunningham referred to Clark as a starter with affection, this implies that she would start the drama. She would watch the chaos while publishing anything. This was perfectly consistent with the way these two interact on social media. Their frequent lighthearted barbs, inside jokes, and reciprocal trolling are enjoyed by their fan communities. They made a joke about being Indiana Fever mermaids while route to a game. In August, as part of a recruitment campaign for bikini sponsors, Cunningham posted a video of himself and co-worker Lexi Hull in a swimsuit. Cunningham's podcast eventually learned about Clark as well. The Show Me Something account's reaction to a fan who asked about a Clark appearance was merely adequate by the standards of these two's public communication. Beneath all of this excitement, though, was a season that went terribly wrong. The Fever had turned into an almost unimaginable injury catastrophe by August. Caitlin Clark only played in 13 games this season due to a groin ailment, bone bruise, and quad strain. In the end, 5 players were declared out for the season, including Cunningham and Clark. At one point, the team was so understaffed that they qualified for an emergency hardship exception. Cunningham had been playing before Connecticut Sun guard Bria January crashed into her leg on August 17th and tore her MCL. Surgery was then carried out. The season has come to an end. The lady who had fought her way into a starting role, averaged more than 11 points per game as a starter, and developed into one of the team's most beloved presences, was gone before the playoffs even started. She watched from the sidelines as a fully decimated Fever team pushed the eventual winner Las Vegas Aces to play 5 games in the semifinals. The perseverance of that crew was incredible, but it must have been painful for Cunningham to see everything take place without her. The postseason was almost as exciting as the actual season. In a league where nothing was certain, Cunningham became an unrestricted free agent when her one-year, $100,000 contract expired. In their CBA talks, the Players Association and the WNBA came to an agreement. Furthermore, neither the official start date of free agency nor the upcoming season's compensation structure were known. She signed with Project B, a brand new worldwide 5-on-5 touring league that offered her almost $2 million annually, roughly 8 times the highest salary in the WNBA at the time. She also began to increase her media visibility in a way that showed her capacity to think beyond basketball, the podcast, the social media brand, and the sponsorship agreements. She was using the fame she had acquired in just one season in Indiana to launch a full-fledged public career. Throughout it all, she kept saying how much she wanted to go back to the Fever. She wanted to play with Clark again. The CBA was ultimately settled in mid-March 2026. Oh, and when free agency began, her future in Indianapolis was at last within reach. By the end of 2025, the numbers showed a story that nobody could have foreseen at the start of the year. Sophie Cunningham came in at number 7 on Google's list of the most searched athletes in the U.S., and the company's yearly search rankings fell. Caitlin Clark, who held the same role in 2024, was not mentioned. Cunningham had taken her place, in a way. She addressed this in the same direct, non-performative way that she handles almost everything when someone brought up on her podcast. She said she didn't know what to think of it. She tried to explain Clark's absence right away by pointing out that she had only played 13 games this season. But she also mentioned how great it was to be the only female in the top 10. She wasn't boasting. She wasn't thinking about herself. Over the course of the year, she thought about her teammate more than anything else. This is the present situation if the new CBA is upheld, as that reaction exposed Sophie Cunningham's actual character off camera. The WNBA's 2026 season is set to start on May 8th. Caitlin Clark is in excellent condition after dominating Team USA in all major statistical categories and taking home the MVP award at the FIBA Women's World Cup qualifying tournament. The Fever are preparing for what should be their strongest and healthiest roster in franchise history. And Sophie Cunningham, the woman who came to Indianapolis as a trade piece, became an enforcer, went viral, became a music fan favorite, sustained an injury, built a media empire while recovering, and never stopped speaking her truth, is awaiting word on whether she will be able to rejoin the team that transformed her life. Fans are putting constant pressure on the corporation to bring her back. Clark reportedly expressed her feelings about the matter to the front desk. The expansion draft will bring 2 additional teams to the league, Toronto and Portland. And one of the most eagerly awaited storylines in all of women's basketball coming into the new year is the Fever's roster selections. Whatever happens next, one thing is certain. Sophie Cunningham went into a room full with expectations, disregarded them all, and came out stronger, without a contract or obligation. She showed up to serve meals to strangers, told the truth when no one asked, and defended her teammate when no one else would. It's not a brand. That's a person. And that's the exact reason why viewers can't stop watching. Some WNBA players arrive, carry out their responsibilities, and then depart. Then there is Sophie Cunningham, a woman who joined the most talked-about women's basketball team, immediately began throwing people to the ground, went viral overnight, and then sat down to share all the details she had been keeping herself about what it's actually like to play with the most divisive player in the world. What she revealed wasn't just surprising. The story that most people had previously come to believe was completely supplemented. To understand why any of this matters, you have to go back to January 31st, 2025, the day Sophie Cunningham's life changed in a way she probably never expected. Throughout her 6 seasons of arduous work with the Phoenix Mercury, she had established herself as a powerful, trustworthy guard who could shoot the lights out and wasn't afraid of anything. She had been dealt to the Indiana Fever. It was later learned. Not just any team, but the Indiana Fever, who have more cameras, controversy, and national attention than any WNBA team in history. Caitlin Clark is the most scrutinized athlete in women's sports. The industry itself was historic as well, with 10 teams that dominated the league. Cunningham did not receive a gentle introduction to her new environment. She was dropped in the middle of the storm, and the events that followed revealed every facet of her actual character. Almost everyone talks about this. In Indiana, Cunningham had a challenging start. Due to an ankle injury she had during the preseason, her debut was delayed until May 22nd. She had another ankle injury a week later, which prevented her from playing for 2 more weeks. Playing for a new city, a new coach, a new system, and new teammates, she was battling her body and attempting to find a rhythm. During those first few weeks, she struggled. Chemistry was lacking. Please use the comments area to express your opinions. To ensure you don't miss anything, subscribe and turn on all notifications. Once you click the video on the screen, we'll see you in the next one.